Today's AskReddit post. Flight attendants of Reddit. What happens when you suspect people of having sex in the bathroom of the plane and how often does that happen? Oh boy, this is gonna be a good one. Let's get started. The logistics of this seem mind-boggling. I can barely close the door while avoiding pee splatter and fluids on the side of the toilet. I guess I'm just too grossly uncoordinated to ever be in the Mile High Club. I just can't fathom how to fit all 6 of us in the bathroom. All 6 of us. Man's living the life. It's much easier when it's just me and my right hand. Joining the Mile High Club with Pamela Henderson I myself enjoy Angelina. Fistina is my lady, but to each their own. Pilot here. Once heard our senior cabin crew bang the door and shout in her thick Irish accent. If I'm not getting any, yous two sure as hell aren't. Get out and sit down. Simple solution was to invite her in. Who says they didn't? Artoba continued. A threesome. I never get this. On every flight I've been on, there's always lineups for the bathroom and flight attendants nearby. How do 2 people get in there unnoticed? Try flying Sydney to Vancouver or any other such flight path more appropriate to your location and travel desires. It feels like an eternity, although it's only 15 hours or so non-stop. During the middle of the night in terms of the departure time zone it is usually super quiet and all the lights are off. Only, the real pain in the ass for Australians is flying to Europe. 15 hours to Dubai or Doha and then another 8 hours to Paris or London. One 15-hour flight is only light torture for us. Edit. I get it. New Zealand is slightly further away. I fly out of Tasmania to Melbourne or Sydney first too. Just teleport like everybody else, geez. I caught 2 little people having sex in the photo booth at my bar. We had to lift them out by hand because they were so drunk. They were completely naked. Never tried. But read that it's easier to dirty spoon under blankets on a red eye than use the tiny bathroom. Yeah, but that would also make getting caught so much more likely. I still don't know what would happen if you got caught though, lol. IDK. On long haul transatlantic flights no one is walking around much a couple of hours in. The lights are dimmed. Most people are asleep and there's plenty of noise to drown out any creaks. But I guess you'd need to be in a 2-seat row or have an empty 3rd seat. Get first class on one of those planes where you get sliding doors on either side. If you're sneaky enough, it'll probably work. Not your first time spending $10,000 on a flight just to bang, is it? How the hell can you fit 2 people in an airplane bathroom? You stick one inside the other. Russian nesting passengers, if you will. But just the tip. Matryoshka tips. It doesn't happen much at all. Way too cramped. Unless you luck out on a mostly empty plane. That's what I've heard too. Still feel like there must be some interesting stories, lol. What's to tell? She went in first, I followed with a knock. It was cramped so not a lot of foreplay. I came and she didn't. 5/10 would do again. No one noticed though. Mile high's overrated. Now, mile long is where it's at. We had the room to ourselves and were going at it somewhere between Poland and Germany. Plenty of room and the cushions on modern German wagons. Just as we were finishing we pulled into a half-full station. The onlookers moving fast first but slowly locking on questionably to our position as we finished. Pants up and casual before anyone, except us, came on the train. Mile high's overrated. Mile high in the backseat of a small plane over the San Francisco Bay on a clear night. Memorable experience. Now standing up, sex in a cramped smelly airline bathroom and the walk of shame back to your seat? No thanks. Okay, not completely related, but my sister was in the bathroom on a flight and the captain announced, "Ladies and gentlemen, we will be experiencing some slight turbulence." Suddenly the plane dropped, then shuddered and stabilized. IDK, what the hell kind of turbulence that was? All I know is I heard the most blood-curdling scream come from the bathroom. My sister comes out of the bathroom like she had just looked into the eyes of death. I suppose she thought we were crashing, lol. When she sat down, she informed me that she had just fallen off the toilet, face with tears of joy. So it's safe to say I will never attempt to join the Mile High Club. Just imagine. Sure was a wild ride for her. Sorry for the bad joke lol. Shitty ride. I think the original Mile High Club was meant to be exclusive because it's difficult to do. I wonder if the term was originally meant more for private jets. I think the serious tag should have been attached to this. Yep, poor oversight on my part lol. Not a flight attendant but a pilot. I've been flying for a few years and luckily haven't had anything of the sort. Closest I've personally had was a flight attendant get unwelcome touches from a drunk passenger. It's mildly satisfying having charges pressed and the customer service folks informing that passenger who had hundreds of thousands of miles and enormous status with the airline lose all of that and banned from flying with us on top of it all. Everyone forgets that cabin altitude of airliners is 6-8k feet and the light mild hypoxia means alcohol affects you significantly more than on the ground. The trick is not to sexually assault people even when you're drunk. Pro tip right here. It's mental to me that, in TV shows like Friends, the characters are willing and sometimes able to do it in all kinds of public places. Is it just because they don't last very long? Do they have no shamik? I feel like it's one of those things that only happens in TV shows, but they pretend like it's a common and relatable issue. My wife and I had a whirl in the Kmart changing rooms years ago. We were in a competition for a trophy for the most public place. We lost. Wait, who the heck did you lose to? A Love Island contestant? I knew a person who had sex once. Happy cake day bud. Edit. It was anonymous but someone seems really happy about their cake day lol. United here. I knock on the door and ask if everything's okay. If they're smart, only one person answers. I can't exactly barge in, but once I hear a second voice, I can open the door. This is where the fun begins. I then drag the two with their pants down to the front. They get to do the walk of shame. Then I open the emergency door and fling them out. They make a nice splash over the ocean. I usually quip at them something pithy I practiced the night before. Something like you should have used a serious tag. Asterisk. Do you have a bell to ring when they do the walk of shame? Ding ding shame. I barely have space to piss or turn around in those tiny bathrooms, let alone get jiggy with it. Honestly, it sounds so uncomfortable. A friend was telling me his experience like it was the best thing he's ever done and I was just thinking about how many times he probably hit his head on the ceiling lol. Hit his head on the ceiling. Some gave all. Not a flight attendant, but after flying a few times and watching that one episode of 1000 Ways to Die, I don't think it is worth the discomfort and apparently small chance of dying to join the Mile High Club. Not to mention the door is basically cardboard thin and with our luck my husband's ass would end up going through it and blowing our secret. Edit. Meant Mile High Club. But I guess if your partner is named Mike it still applies lmao. Gotta admit the risk does add to the appeal a bit loldk if it's worth dying though. It doesn't happen as often as people think it does. When I was still flying, 7191, more people just got off in the rows of seats in darkness under a blanket rather than in toilets. First class you ignored the people or gave the guy a wink, but other classes, I just smiled knowingly at them. We had a few people also do it in the galley below floor level on B747 feet 4 which we had on our aircraft. Although more often than not it involved one or more of the crew. Easy to do as you could dim the lights and by opening the elevator door downstairs. The elevator you'll not operate. Prior to 747 we had 707 and several times there were only 2 first class passengers and we just left them to it, had a coffee break or sat on flight deck and told pilots what was going on. Clearly one couple were getting friendly. Naked under a blanket in business class, a kid asked for a blanket for his father. We pointed to that one, the kid of about 7-8 grabbed it and walked off dragging it behind him, leaving the couple uncovered. One of them moved quickly to find something to cover themselves and accidentally turned on reading lights spotlighting themselves in the dark cabin. To the smiles of other passengers and crew who happened to be passing, 2 folks were fooling around under a blanket and you directed a child to take the blanket and reveal them. 1971 to 1991. I feel like this is gonna get a lot of downvotes, but I found that prank hilarious. Especially if it wasn't recorded and the kid didn't just turn around and Google what they think they saw. I mean, I wasn't the only kid who walked in on their parents having sex and just blindly believed the first excuse they told me till I actually learned what sex was, right? Join them. Before you join them, you have to loudly stomp up to the scene, look shocked with your hands on hips, shake your head in disbelief, and then gradually begin to touch yourself while practically looming in the doorway. If you follow the above steps, you are rendered completely invisible to the offenders for 5 minutes or so, or until you wordlessly join them. Edit. Thanks for the gold. I fly for a really big international airline, so I had chance to see people from all over the world. Still, I can say it doesn't happen that much. What happens, how I react, depends on the flight, passengers and their previous attitude. Mostly, I just knock the door and mind my own business if they don't disturb others. The main problem is in case of emergency or sudden turbulence, lovebirds will almost certainly get hurt, and there is no way I can explain to the company how I'll let it happen. Nobody wants to do it for that minor thing, but on paper, the passengers can be picked up by airport police and charged even. Edit. Typo. It wasn't sex, but I actually had a flight attendant introduce me to a guy I dated for 3 years. We were flying out of a war area and I had an entire row to myself. It was a dry contract, so the second we were wheels up from the last post, everyone was ordering beer and all liquor. I was listening to music and felt someone watching me, so I turned to my left and see this super cute guy holding 6 beers. He told me the flight attendant only agreed to give him that many if he would come up to my row and share them with me. I looked back at the flight attendant and he was giving me a thumbs up. He sat down and then we dated for years. He actually sent me a photo of him and the same flight attendant a couple of years ago. Anyways, the crew itself is the biggest duck club. I love when people try to do their own due diligence through AskReddits. The only Mile High club I am a part of is the one in Modern Warfare 1. This shit is harder to do on veteran than actual Mile High club. The girl has to hitch up her skirt, knickers off, and jump up and wedge her bum on the edge of the sink. Then, just like peeing in the Antarctic, the deed needs to be done quickly. It isn't very common, mostly because the toilets are tiny, and if you are in there for more than 10 minutes we have to check you haven't died on the toilet. However, a colleague told me he caught a couple having sex in the toilet and they got arrested when the plane landed. Sadly, what is more common is passengers carrying out sex act in their seats and trying to hide it under coats and stuff. This will also end in being arrested. Da fuck? The comments suck, lol. Anyways, is it illegal if me and GF do this? Can we get like fined or arrested? This was a train, not a plane, but I'll speak anyway. We were delayed, stopped in a station, tons of people, our delay, so the conductor walked through the whole train to bring the news and officially apologize for inconveniences. Me and a different family stood near the toilets that were locked for some 5-10 minutes. No biggie. And the conductor walked in, asked what was happening, and simply knocked on the toilet. Apparently he heard something. Next thing he did was that he calmly brought up a key, unlocked the place and threw out one less than happy and less than clothed couple out of the open door. Gave them approximately 10 seconds to throw something on and kicked them out of the train. Quite a spectacle. What a dick move. I was 17 and my GF was 15. We were traveling across states and my girlfriend felt sick and ran to the bathroom. She was taking a while, so I went to check on her, but a guy was waiting to use the bathroom. I asked if I could check on her. I knocked and when she opened the door the guy started clapping like I won an award. When I told him she was sick he smiled like he didn't believe me. I went in, gave my GF some water, walked out with her. Guy was a pervert. It's not hard to sneak in there, but I was not about that. That clueless pervert was astounded by what he thought was the most power move ever. I've had sex on a flight from Athens, Greece to Atlanta. We did a quick refuel in the Manchester. Complete stranger at first. In-flight movies were broken and so we just chatted for hours. Sometimes you just click with people. Things progressed and it was very late. Most people were asleep and we snuck in the bathroom. It was a huge plane and there were tons of bathrooms. You do it for the story. When she walked out first, a very old guy happened to be waiting and tried to go in after her. When he saw me try to walk out, the look on his face was priceless. This 80-year-old man went from puzzled to intrigued to highly amused in just 2 seconds. Then he smiled at me and moved out of the way. Didn't say a peep. The girl and I are still incredible friends to this day. We live on the opposite sides of the world but we still talk about life and catch up. It was the luckiest flight any dude could have. When we were making out before sneaking off, I caught a glance at the middle row of dudes just staring at me. 6-7 years ago. This is so fake, haha. Not a Mile High Club experience, but some pretty flight attendants stood beside me for almost a minute and let out a huge fart, then walked back. Nobody noticed because they were all asleep. I joined the Mile High Club flying solo in the restroom. No trouble at all. Wow, such empty. Had one young couple from coach sneak in the first class bathroom. She left first, then him a couple of minutes later. Trying to be discreet. Too bad they didn't think it through. She spit on the wall. I was the one to make them go clean up their mess. Didn't have to because we had to block off that bathroom because of their hazardous waste anyway. But just because. You. Actual flight attendant here. Honestly doesn't happen nearly as often as you'd think. The few times it's happened on my flights, we make sure to let them know that we know. The whole crew will know almost instantly who you are, including the pilots. And then we'll laugh at you and come up ways to try to make you as uncomfortable and awkward as possible while still being professional about it. I once had sex with Eartha Kitt in an airplane bathroom. Ex-flight attendant here with 12Y experience of flying both short-haul and long-haul flights. Never had this happen to me. Can't say it never happens. But I mean, the toilets are pretty disgusting, especially later on during the flight. They are tiny except for higher class sections. If that would happen and crew would catch them, I guess nothing would happen anyway. At least back when I was working I wouldn't care. Tell the supervisor, crew. Tell the captain, see what they want to do. Which again probably would be nothing if no one else noticed. I'm not a flight attendant, but if I was and I noticed that people were ducking anywhere on the plane, I'd probably just think nice and get on with my life. Why be a narc? OP is 13. Maintain eye contact to assert dominance. I once had sex with Eartha Kitt in an airplane bathroom. Bro, you actually watched the whole video. I'd give you a high five if I was a human. Make sure to click the like button and subscribe for more great content. See you next time.